Alrighty guys, another day, another strength. We're back with another video today. A different kind of video. This is going to be a program breakdown. We're looking at the Texas Method, everyone's favorite intermediate program in the starting strength universe. Everyone seems to think that after the NLP you're supposed to just automatically run Texas Method, which is a misconception, but we're going to talk about the program today and go through it a little bit. So yeah, the style of program that it is it's a linear periodization. I guess it's not really periodization, it's just a linear program, right? Where we're just adding weight week to week. So you finished your novice phase, now you're an intermediate. So you can add weight to your lifts once per week rather than multiple times during the week. So it's an intermediate program. And there's 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're gonna talk about the different days. And first we're just gonna talk about the initial program as written in the Gray Book with no modifications. Spoiler alert, the Texas Method tends to work a little better if you modify some things. And I will say, for most programs, you should modify, treat the program like a template, right? And kind of modify it and tailor it to you so that's gonna work for you. As Andy Baker likes to say, make the program serve you, you don't serve the program. So anyways, we have these 3 days. There's a volume day on Monday. We have the light day on Wednesday, and we have the intensity day on Friday. So right off the bat, you might be thinking like, oh, that sounds familiar, especially if you're in the starting strength world. Sounds like the heavy, light, medium kind of setup, right? But here's the thing. With heavy, light, medium, or with this program rather, compared to heavy, light, medium, 2 of the days are actually heavy. It's heavy, light, heavy, right? The 5x5 squats starts at 90% of your 5 rep max, which is pretty heavy, and it just keeps on getting heavier. The same with upper body lift, and then the deadlift 1 set of 5 is on that same day. So this is a heavy day right here. And then your intensity day is a 5 rep max on the, intensity day here. 5 rep max on the squat, not sure why it's not written in there. And then a 5 rep max for either the press or the bench, whichever week it is, right? So both days are heavy days, just different kinds of heavy. But this right here, the volume day, is really the engine of the program. This is what makes it go. If you were to remove the 2 other days and just do this once a week, like you would still progress for quite a while. Versus if you were to not do the Monday and just do the intensity day, your program would crash and burn pretty quickly. You'd be basically like pulling the rug out from under your gains. So anyways, the 5x5 with the squat. Generally with 5x5s, as I've talked about in my other programming videos, you're trying to, they should be reasonably heavy, but you're trying to get a lot of practice with one lift. So this does that. You're getting a lot of practice. And then you're also getting the repeated stimulus of doing that lift. You're used to doing 3 sets, now you're doing 5 sets. So you're getting a little extra muscle growth, as well as a little extra neurological boost from doing the lift so much, getting the practice, like I said. So that's great. But with the Texas Method, eventually it just gets so heavy that you're doing like 5 rep maxes. So the practice component isn't quite there by the end of it. And you're just kind of like beating yourself to death, right? So you're not supposed to be like failing reps on this day, but you are supposed to push the 5x5 as hard as you can, right? And I'll get into some modifications in a moment. But same thing with the bench and the press. You kind of alternate these, and you're just supposed to push the 5x5 as heavy as you possibly can. So like 5 of the heaviest sets that you can do and still get all 5 sets. And then the deadlift is a new 1 set of 5 PR. Quite heavy, pretty brutal, right? And then the intensity day, we're just doing a light squat. We're doing a light upper body lift, which is probably the most commonly swapped out aspect of the Texas Method, which it really should be, because there's not really any reason to do like light presses. I would argue the same for bench, honestly. Then you get some chins, and then these have been forsaken by Mark Rippetoe, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. And then on Friday, we have the 1 set of 5 for the squat and the upper body. And then what happens over time is these cycle through. So it starts as 1 set of 5, then it switches to 2 sets of 3, and then 3 sets of 2, and then 5 sets of 1 by the end of it. So you're just kind of peaking essentially. So it is kind of, I do recommend running this at least once if you're serious about lifting, because it's kind of fun, especially at the end of your LP. You get to switch to this and then kind of like see how far you can peak your strength and see what your 1 rep maxes are going to be. Because by the end of this program, it's going to yield a 1 rep max for each lift, and then you can just kind of like get off it and run something different. And if you do that, it's probably going to last like, I would say like 8 to 12 weeks for most guys, depending on how heavy your LP got. And then from there, you can just kind of like, be like, yeah, I did that. I tried Texas Method. It was hard. But if you run it like this, it is very, very hard. I really don't think it's meant to be run for more than a few weeks at a time. Meaning like, 6 to 12 weeks, something like that. Because you're just going to beat the heck out of yourself if you try to do it on end without making changes. So, that being said, let's look at some of the changes you can make. We're going to snag some knowledge here from Mr. Paul Horn, who is a start and strength coach. And he had this video called The Texas Method, Making It Work for You with Paul Horn. Great video. So what he likes to do with the volume and intensity days is adjust them over time. So what happens is you start the program with your 1 set of 5. So in his example here, the first 1 set of 5 is 315 for 5, right? So your volume day is 90% below that, which is 280. So, round it down a little bit, that's fine. And then you just kind of add 5 pounds to each one, right? And then eventually your intensity day has to change to 2 triples. So when you do that, then you reset the volume day and by using this new percentage, so 85%, which kind of backs it down to 285. And then you kind of run it back up. And then, you might get a new PR for the 5x5, you might not. But you're really concerned with getting the intensity day PRs in this setup, right? So you run that, 3 doubles, then it's 82.5%. And then when you get to 5 singles, the volume is 80% of the heavy day, which works great. And then you can run it for a long period of time. You can like run it all the way out, kind of like test your 1 rep max and then kind of like reset, run it through again. You can do that for a while. And he has a lot of other great setups in this video, so I recommend watching it and checking it out. As far as the upper body goes, right? I have this article here by Nick Delgadillo about the compressed Texas Method for your upper body lifts, which is pretty great. This is the meat and potatoes of it right here. Instead of doing light days for your upper body, you just do a volume day and an intensity day for each lift in the same week. So you have 5x5 bench on Monday, for example, right, at 90%. I don't know why the highlight went away. Then you have Wednesday 5x5. You can do strict press or press, whatever, 90 to 95% of your last set of 5. And then on Friday, for your press, you're going to go right into singles. So you can do 5 to 7. You can even do like 5 to 10 singles. You can do a whole bunch of them at 2 to 5 pounds more than your last heavy press, quote unquote heavy because the press isn't heavy. And you do your 1 set of 5 bench in the same workout. And I prefer to do the presses first and the bench after. I feel like after the bench, you're just kind of like gassed for pressing, just my experience. So I've run this and it works great. I added quite a bit to my press and my bench after the end of my LP. This basically is what got my press to 200 with pin presses as well. So my press LP finished around like 135, and then I basically just like ran this over a long period of time in different iterations, and that got my press from 135 for like triples to 200 for a single. Highly recommend. And then a couple other adjustments you can make. One is that, like I said, you have 2 heavy days, so you could just kind of drop depending on what your goals are. If you're going to drop the volume day, you may as well run something else, I think. But you can kind of drop the intensity day, and this is in the gray book actually. There's a couple like templates that you can adjust. I think it says in this article too. But there's dynamic effort sets that you can add on Friday. That was in there somewhere. I thought I saw it in the article. Yeah. So right here, using explosive dynamic effort deadlifts on Friday. And you can do that with all the lifts, really. So like you could just drop the intensity, make the squat like dynamic effort, press or bench, probably bench. I wouldn't do it with press. And then you can if you're doing your compressed Texas Method, then I would just do your, 5x5s in your heavy day. No dynamic effort for upper body. But you could start off your Friday with like dynamic effort squats, for example, and then do that. And then you could do like dynamic effort pulls instead of cleans or snatches. Because there's not really much reason to do cleans or snatches in this program unless you just really like them. And if you like them that much, then you're probably specializing in Olympic lifting by this point in your training. But anyways, so yeah. And the other thing is you could separate your heavy deadlift and your heavy squat. So you could actually do like the 5x5 here, dynamic effort deadlifts here, and then put the heavy deadlift on Friday. And that's just kind of personal preference. Some people, they just want to get all the heavy work in one day so they can kind of recover a little better. That tends to work better if you're an older guy, I think. But at the same time, doing a 5x5 squat is like grueling and brutal. And like, I feel like this is how people wind up having like the same squat as deadlift, is because they just do like a 5x5 squat and they have no energy to do deadlifts, and they just kind of like phone it in and wind up not pulling as heavy of a set of 5 as they could. But yeah, that's basically it about the Texas method. I think I hit the core of it. This volume day, here's the engine. Linear program, obviously. It's pretty hardcore. Not meant to be run for a long period of time, in this context at least. And if you want to like, if you really get attached to it and you want to do it for a longer period of time, check out Paul Horn's video. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. Say something in the comments, and I'll see you next time. All right, goodbye.